Your pulse is racing, your heart is in your throat, your stomach's making weird noises, your ears are ringing, and you have to give a presentation right now. I know these feelings well. Even after giving probably hundreds of presentations in both my academic and professional careers, presentation or speaking anxiety can still sneak up on me sometimes. But I have a few tricks up my sleeve to nip those fight or flight feelings in the bud. And here's a secret. Now I really love giving presentations, even though it hasn't always been easy. So in this video, we're gonna cover some of my favorite strategies for combating presentation or speaking anxiety that could help you out in your next public speaking event. And no, I'm not going to talk about imagining people in the audience in their underwear. Now, I have a whole other video on memorization strategies for presentations, how to memorize a presentation. And even though memorization and feeling comfortable with your presentation is a big part of reducing presentation anxiety, I'm not going to focus on those strategies in this video. But if you want to check out some of my presentation memorization techniques that I recommend, go ahead and check out the link in the description below for that other video. All right, my first strategy for reducing presentation anxiety is to figure out a breathing strategy that works for you. Slow, deep breathing can really help regulate your nervous system if you're feeling some of those physical symptoms of presentation anxiety in the moment. But it's best to practice these before you actually do your presentation so that you're not figuring it out as you go along. Some people like the in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4 method. Some people like to just focus on nose breathing. I learned this yoga technique back when I was in high school that really helped me right before track meets when I would get nervous before running a race. It was something like holding 2 fingers on one nostril, inhaling through the other nostril, covering up one nostril, and then exhaling. There was a pattern and a rhythm to it, and I don't remember all the details now or what it's called, but it really did help me, even though I looked pretty silly right there on the starting line of a track meet, putting my fingers around my nose. But look up breathing strategies and techniques and figure out a few that you can try yourself right before you have to give your next presentation. My second strategy is to get used to your own voice. Some people have a minor freak out moment when they're up in front of an audience and their voice is the only thing that they hear in the room. So a great way to do this is to record yourself or to practice giving your presentation to other people. This goes along a little bit with some of the memorization strategies, but it's really just getting used to pacing out your voice, projecting loud enough, and being comfortable with what you hear as you're talking. Now, I know most people hate the sound of their own voice. I get sick of my own all the time when I have to watch and edit my YouTube videos. Did the stupid thing, okay. But if you get used to it, it will go a long way in helping with your presentation anxiety. All right, tip number 3 is that if you are allowed to have notes in your presentation, to have a note card or a sheet of paper with an outline, but not verbatim notes of your presentation. It's actually gonna increase your anxiety and make you feel more nervous about getting everything absolutely right if you have your presentation written out word for word in front of you, because you're gonna be constantly referring to that, figuring out where you are, seeing where you missed a word or two here and there. So it's better just to have an outline of general ideas that you wanna hit in your presentation if you can have something like that available to you. Same thing goes with word references on slides. The fewer words you can put on the slides, the better. And after a while, the more comfortable you'll become in talking to the audience instead of reading off the slides. And this goes along with strategy number 4, which is the fewer words you have to read, the better. So if you put up long paragraphs or sentences on a slide in front of a class or a lecture hall, reading each of those word for word is more of a crutch that you're going to start to rely on in your presentations. If you can become more confident with talking in complete sentences without reading it directly from a slide or a piece of note paper, this will take you a long way in reducing your presentation anxiety. All right, strategy number 5 is to practice the right amount. So a lot of people have their sweet spot with the number of times they need to practice a presentation, and there is such a thing as too much practice, because again, feel like you've practiced it a million times and you got it right and perfect. You're going to start to feel a little shaken and maybe get off your groove if you mess up a little bit on the day of in the actual presentation. So practice it in the car, on the way to school, in front of friends, but don't practice too much. Just practice enough that you're comfortable and you know what you need to say at every point within the presentation. If you get off track or if there's a question, you'll know exactly what you need to do to get back on track, but you won't be totally thrown for a loop if there are interruptions in your flow. My next strategy is to find your nodder, but not be creepy about it. So usually within any audience, there is one person who is typically the most engaged out of everybody. And sometimes that's somebody who's like in the front row and nodding along and smiling and giving you like major eye contact in the presentation. And that person is going to encourage you and help you feel positive feelings about your presentation. So once you've locked onto that person while you're speaking, make sure that you go back and you look at them frequently. Not all the time, and don't only make eye contact with them, but having reassurance from somebody in the audience can be super helpful. This might even be your teacher, and just reminding yourself to take a look at those people who are engaged and following along with your presentation can go a long way and help a lot with your confidence while you're speaking. If fixating on a person during a presentation doesn't work for you, my next strategy is to fixate a point in the room or a spot in the wall that you can look back to. Now, as you're giving a presentation, you're obviously going to want to look in more than one place throughout your talk. You don't only want to look at your slides, you don't only want want to look at your notes. You don't only want to look at that nodder. You want to look around your audience and act like you're engaging with all of them. But if you're starting to feel nervous about the people in front of you, fixate on a poster on the wall in the back of the classroom or a piece of dirt somewhere. Or if you're doing it virtually, look at that green light on the top of your webcam and fixate on that. Sometimes the faces can get a little overwhelming, so looking at something that's inanimate will help ground you and remind you of the important things that you need to say and help you ignore the people in the audience. All right, my next strategy is to acknowledge your fears. Obviously, even the most experienced presenters will sometimes get nervous, and that is totally okay. A little bit of nerves is absolutely fine, but some people are able to reduce their stress in the moment a lot if they are writing their fears and worries down. So right before you give a presentation, find a quick piece of scratch paper and jot down everything that you are worried about in the presentation. Sometimes just getting it off your chest will make you feel a whole lot better, even if it's a quick note on your phone right before you're supposed to speak. By writing down your fears beforehand, you'll get them out of the way and they won't take over while you're talking. All right, my last strategy is about laughing at yourself. So obviously in any presentation, there is room for error. It is something that is happening live in front of an audience. You can't go back and edit it. You might stumble on a word, forget something, mispronounce a word, trip, anything like that. And it is okay to laugh at yourself and then move on. You are human, and this will probably help you connect with the audience even more if you are acknowledging your own mistakes in the presentation without drawing too much attention on it. Smile, say excuse me, or correct yourself, and then move forward. Don't fixate on the mistakes that you make in the presentation. Acknowledge it, smile, and move on. It is totally okay if you mess up. It is totally okay if you mispronounce a word, stumble on something. It even happens to me as I am speaking. What other strategies do you have for reducing presentation anxiety, either in school or in a professional setting? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Give this video a like if it's been helpful, and I'll see you later.